so we are still on the record in the matter of State of Michigan versus Michael Garnes, 23751.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm going to present people P. 214.
James Humphreys, appointed counsel on behalf of Mr. Garnes, P. 38930. Mr. Garnes, state your name.
Michael Garnes.
Okay, so I'm going to tell everybody. Our court recorder is on Zoom, and all of you are very, very quiet, and it's hard to hear all of you, even here in court, let alone on Zoom. So I need all of you to keep your volume up consistently and not trail off, and to speak as clearly as possible. So I'm going to have everybody put their appearances back on the record. If you feel like you're shouting, that's fine.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. Michael Kizak from People, PA 214.
Thank you.
James Humphreys, P. 38930, on behalf of Mr. Garnes.
Thank you.
Michael Garnes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Okay, and so today's the date scheduled for the preliminary examination. And are the people ready to proceed?
We are ready to proceed, Your Honor. Our first witness is the Officer Gouth from Gouth from the Wyandotte Police Department.
All right, are there any preliminary matters that we need to address?
Not for the people, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and so Mr. Humphreys, Mr. Humphreys has an exhibit that he would like to propose. Is there a stipulation to that exhibit?
We have no objection to the admission of Defense Exhibit 1, Your Honor.
Okay, so
Which
it's
is a
stipulated.
body cam video from the responding officer.
Okay, stipulated Defense Exhibit 1. Body cam footage from which officer?
I believe it's Officer Gouth, Your Honor. Just looking at it, I'm not, is that correct, counsel?
Yeah, that I'm assuming that's him because he's the second person to the scene.
Okay, well, hold on. I don't want to assume anything because we need to make a clear record. You have a video that you're proposing to admit into evidence. It's the body worn camera for which officer?
The only information that I have is it's body 3X60A8311S. Let me tell you. 1/1826 5th-3.
And Your Honor, without seeing the actual video, I can't tell which officer it is at this point. I think we'll be able to clarify the record when Mr. Humphreys plays the video.
Okay. Was there any discussion between counsel prior to right now determine whether it's going to be stipulated to or not, and whose body worn camera it was? In the future, it would be best to do that so that we're not taking up the court time and the record trying to figure out whose body worn camera this is, as this is defense exhibit and it's supposed to be stipulated, it's going to be stipulated to. I need to do it for the record and we don't have the actual camera or video, and so we need to be as specific as possible. We don't know whose camera, body worn camera is X60888311S.
Your Honor, I can certainly find, I can look and see. I'm just not sure. Again, without seeing further in the video, I'm just looking at the screen now. I can try to see which one that it actually is.
Okay, I'm going to go off the record and I'm going to have counsel, you can stop screen sharing, but then you can show Mr. Kazak and the two of you can figure out whose it is so we can indicate that for the record. So we're going off the record. Please stop screen sharing. And then you and Mr. Kazak can review the video, not screen sharing.
Yeah.
Counsel, for the record, court time should not be used trying to figure out whose body worn camera this is, when this has been, how long? We adjourned it from last week, correct? And there wasn't any communication between counsel regarding any of the exhibits to stipulate or not. I'm going to presume that this is not Officer Guth's body worn camera. Let's go back on the record in the matter of Michael Garnes. So who are the two officers that you requested body worn camera of?
Yeah, the two initial responding officers, Officer Guth and Officer Sassu. And so I presume this is Officer Sassu's body cam video from the position of the video and from obviously seeing the other officer in that video.
Okay, so Mr. Humphries, looking at wasn't Officer Guth just in here? Okay, so I'm just gonna have Officer Guth come in, so then you can compare him to the video to see if that's him or not. I'm just going to take judicial notice that the person on the screen is Officer Guth, who's also here in the courtroom. So that would mean that it would not be Officer Guth's body worn camera, but it would be Officer Stasu's. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
All right, so the stipulated exhibit for Defense Exhibit 1 is the body worn camera footage of Officer Stasu. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct, Mr. Humphries?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and so anything else that we need to address prior to the first witness
Not for the people, Your Honor, thank you.
for the defense?
No.
What's not, there's nothing to do, nothing to mark. Okay. All right, people may call their first witness.
Your Honor, people with calls from the Wyandotte Police Department.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear from the testimony about to give this matter be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? All right, so I'm going to have you, our court recorder is on Zoom. And so it's been very difficult for her to hear a lot because people are very quiet. So I need you to speak directly into the microphone so that you can hear yourself up above in the speakers. If you cannot hear yourself, then she can't hear you. And you can adjust the microphone. So if you can move as close as possible to the microphone, and please state and spell your first and last names for the record.
First name Kyle, K-Y-L-E, last name Guth, G-O-U-T-H.
Thank you very much, and that was perfect. All right, and Mr. Kazak, you may proceed. You may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. And good afternoon, Officer. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the date, 13th of April 2023. Were you working as an officer in the city of Wyandotte in that day?
Yes,
And did you respond out to 1828 Fifth Street in the city?
I believe it was 1826 Fifth Street, but yeah.
And what brought you out to Fifth Street on the date of the 13th?
So we were dispatched to that address for a domestic violence call.
And what other officers did you dispatch?
Officer Stasu and Officer Todd.
And why were you dispatched to that location?
Again, we were dispatched for a domestic violence.
And what happened when you arrived at the Fifth Street address?
You're trailing off. I'm sorry. You're trailing off, Mr. Kazak.
What
If
happened?
you need to, you can pull that and hold it in your hand, the microphone.
What happened when you arrived at the Fifth Street address?
When we arrived, immediately we got out of our vehicles. Mr. Garnes was standing on the porch with his sister, who was holding a knife.
All right, and you say Mr. Garnes and you gestured to someone in court. Can you describe what you see Mr. Garnes in court?
Correct. Mr. Garnes was wearing a black shirt, CBGB, I believe was on his shirt, sitting at the table right there.
And you have the record just reflect the witness identified the defendant, Mr. Garnes.
Counsel, anything for the record?
No.
Okay, the record will still reflect.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you said it was chaotic from there. What do you mean by that?
Like I said, initially when I got out of the video or out of the vehicle, there was yelling. Mr. Garnes was stating that somebody's going to put him down. We were going to have to kill him. Like I said, he was holding a butcher knife. He was on the porch with his sister. Like I said, as we approached, it was just yelling back and forth between the two of us.
And what was his demeanor like? What was Mr. Garnes' demeanor like at that time?
He was very agitated. It seemed that he was very expressive. Like I said, he was yelling. It seemed that he was very angry. And there was not a scuffle, but him and his sister were arguing. She was trying to get him to calm down.
And you said Mr. Garnes had a knife on him at that time?
Correct.
And what did Mr. Garnes do with that knife?
Holding the knife. It was more about what he was saying than really the knife itself.
And what happened after your interaction initially with Mr. Garnes?
After a brief interaction of us trying to get him to put it down, he threw it off the side of the porch.
did you and the other officers do that?
At that point, we immediately, we tried to get her off the porch, which she refused, so we immediately went up there to secure Mr. Garnes in handcuffs.
And when you say we, who are you referring to?
Again, me, Officer Sassu, and Officer Todd.
Now, was Mr. Garnes cooperative with that process?
No.
And can you describe how Mr. Garnes did not cooperate?
Again, he was
Hold on, I'm
still,
sorry, you're trailing off, Mr. Kizak.
Can you describe, how, you said Mr. Garnes did not cooperate, is that correct?
correct.
Can you describe how that manifested itself?
When we went to the porch, again, he was very, animated, yelling, swearing. I attempted to place him in handcuffs as well as the help of Officer Sassu, and Mr. Garnes continued to pull his arm away from us multiple times. We had to physically hold him back so that I could put him in handcuffs so that we could secure him.
All right, and at that time, were you in a police uniform?
Correct, yes.
Did you identify yourself with the other officers when you arrived at the scene?
I don't recall if we identified ourselves as police.
Now, but you indicated you were, or you dressed as you are today with
Police vehicle.
after attempting, and did you give Mr. Garnes any directions when you were attempting to place him in handcuffs?
At that point, we told him that we expressed to him and his sister we were trying to secure him.
And did Mr. Garnes cooperate at that point?
No, like I said, he attempted to pull his arm away from us multiple times.
And were you eventually able to place Mr. Garnes in the handcuffs?
Yes, we were.
And what did you do after you placed him in the handcuffs?
You're
After
trailing off again, Mr. Kizak.
What did you do after you placed him in the handcuffs?
we attempted to move him to one of the patrol vehicles.
And what happened when you attempted to do that?
As he was being escorted off the porch, he continued to try and not fight, but he sat down, tried to pull away from officers that were holding on to him.
And after, when Mr. Garnes sat down, what did you do in response to that?
I personally did not do anything at that point. I wasn't one of the officers escorting him, but I know there was a struggle where he was put on the ground in the front lawn after, like I said, he continued to attempt to pull away.
Now, was Mr. Garnes cooperative towards you and the other officers at any point in this process?
After he was put in the patrol car, we were able to speak with him at a decent level where we could talk.
But would it be fair to say that he initially did not comply with any of your commands?
Correct. He initially no.
Your Honor, thank you. I have no further questions this time.
Okay, and Mr. Humphrey.
Officer, did you have a body worn camera that day?
Yes.
All right, and, did this officer Sasha, did he have body worn camera?
Correct. That's the video that is.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay,
As far as I am aware, I'm clearly on in front, so I'm not exactly sure who's standing behind me. I know it's either him or.
all right. And so you said you approached the front of the house
Yes, sir.
and, you took a position away from the front porch, correct?
I was standing in the front lawn, pretty much in front of the porch.
Okay, and at some point in time, there was another woman there, correct?
Correct.
And that was his sister,
As far as we were aware, she didn't really want to give us any information.
okay? And, did you ever hear that Mr. Garnes had lost his mother and father shortly before you all arrived?
We did hear that. The sister was informing us on that.
And, so his behavior, as you indicated, he was expressive and angry, was consistent with receiving that kind of news, am I correct?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
Okay. All right. So he's holding the knife is taken from him,
But yes, the sister was able to get the knife from us.
and she threw it off the porch,
Correct.
and then you all moved in.
Correct.
All right. And if you say that he pulled away numerous times while you were trying to handcuff him,
Correct.
you have permission to play the video at this point?
Yes, counsel, if you have to stop and pause it, just please make sure you're being specific with the timing. There's numbers on the video. So just for the record, make sure you're being specific with the time that you're pausing it and playing it.
All right,
And if you're referring to something, please be as descriptive as possible. Because obviously the record needs to be able to get that.
all right, we are starting the video at, 0.09.
Is there audio? Okay, if you can pause it, council, for a moment. Can you move that microphone closer to your computer? And then turn the volume all the way up on your computer, please. And Abby, Officer Haskins can bring it up. Okay, you may proceed.
I'm stopping at 22. Did you see yourself?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When you're stopping the video, you're going to have to mute the computer while you're asking the questions. Sorry about that.
You saw yourself,
Correct. Yes.
and did you see the other officer that this video has been taken with?
At this point, I'm not aware if I've seen him or not. Like I said, I was in front the whole time.
Okay. And did you testified that you heard that he had lost his mother and father, and mother and brother before you all arrived, right?
Not before we arrived, no, just during the incident. During this interaction, I recall a sister telling us while we were out there. I did not know before we showed up.
Correct.
Correct.
She told you as you were approaching.
I don't think she had said it yet, from what I recall. It's a little hard for me to hear the video, but
Just make sure you're turning it up, council.
Do you
What
recognize
time did you call us?
positive at 44?
Okay, but hit mute on your computer, please.
Positive at 44. Do you recognize that officer in the left-hand corner of the screen?
if I could approach the video a little closer, it's kind of hard.
Okay, I don't have any objection to that. If you can step down and look at the big screen, that's fine.
Yes, that's Officer Sassy stating.
Okay, well, my counsel, apparently the body worn camera is not Officer Sassu's. It would be Officer Todd's.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Humphreys?
That's fine, yeah. That's fine. He says it's Todd. If it's not his and it's not the other officers, then it has to be Todd's because they're the first three there. And this is the early on, right?
Correct, that would be Officer Todd.
Okay, let me continue.
Stopped at 1:30. Officer, at this point, he is not resisting, opposed, or obstructed, am I correct?
Correct.
Stopping it at 1:40. Is this the attempt to place him in handcuffs?
Correct, yes.
You said you told him that he would place him in handcuffs?
We were gonna secure him, that's what we had said.
That's what you said? You
Yes,
said, we're gonna secure you.
correct.
Already, you might as well use it, nigga. Use it. Fucking use it. It's so specific. Use it. Fucking kill me, bro.
Stopping it at 2:10. Can you tell me if we saw this multiple pulling of his arm away?
It happened, I don't understand why the video is so laggy. It's kind of hard to see what's going on with the video being so laggy, but yes, during the interaction, pulled away multiple times.
Now listen, you straight the fuck up. Hey, use it.
Stopping it at 2:28. Where was it? He didn't follow your direction.
Again, I think it's just hard to tell from it being so laggy. But as I said, during the interaction, he attempted to pull away multiple times as he was attempting to be detained.
Then you indicated that he was supposed to sit down and he pulled away at that point. And I'm asking.
No, we were trying to walk him down the stairs and he sat down. Again, it's laggy, so it's kind of
Sir,
hard.
excuse me, I'm sorry, sir, you cannot interrupt. Your attorney is asking questions, playing an exhibit, you cannot interrupt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
We may continue.
So
I wasn't involved in escorting him down the stairs. But from the video footage, again, although it's laggy, at one point he attempts to sit down as they're escorting him down the stairs.
did you hear one of the officers say to him, sit down at the top of the stairs?
No, that's what I'm saying. He wasn't advised to sit down.
Okay, hold on, pause that, because you've gone back, pause it. Because you've gone back, so now you need to stay where you're playing that from now.
No. Okay. 1:59. Playing from that point.
Fucking kill me, bro. Just kill me.
Did you hear somebody say, sit down?
Make sure you're mute.
Did you hear somebody say, sit down?
Yes, it seems that somebody said sit down, but again, I wasn't involved in escorting him, so I don't feel like I can speak for who's saying what at what time. My thing about resisting was during the handcuffing aspect of the incident.
And I just want to make sure the record's clear that based on where the video is stopped at, this is why they're still on the porch, this is not when they're in the yard. I just want that record to reflect what's on the video when the witness is described that he did hear the officer say, sit down.
When he did or did not.
Did hear the officer say, sit down. It's when the defendant's on the porch.
Okay, would you agree with that, counsel, that that's an accurate representation of what is currently on the screen?
Yes, I would agree that that's the point.
Okay, all right, thank you. The record will so reflect.
Starting it at 2:13. And it's clear that someone told him to sit down, and then he wasn't given an opportunity to sit down. Am I correct?
Correct, again, though.
Thank you.
213 on
Thank
it.
you.
On
Thank you.
Hold on, officer, hold on.
You answered the question.
Yep.
You say correct.
Yes, sir.
Now listen, you straighten the fuck up, or I'm gonna slap your face. Get your ass up to the floor. Give a fuck. Shoot me, bro.
Stopping it at 2:41. You don't go with the rest of this, right? You don't walk down the block.
I eventually do, but not hand in hand with him.
Correct. And it's clear that that your officers, someone told him to sit on the ground, and then he actually went to the ground. Am I correct?
I believe somebody told him to sit down, and at one point he does go to the ground. Yeah, again, I wasn't involved in that interaction.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Officer, you've had a chance to review the video, is that correct?
Correct.
And would it be fair to say that on the video, you heard the individual tell the defendant to sit down while he was on the porch, is that correct?
Correct.
And would it be fair to say that there's no other indication on the video of him being told to sit down after he leaves the porch, is that correct?
Correct.
And were you able to observe the officers leading the defendant off the porch?
Correct.
Now, did it appear that the defendant was cooperating with the officers while they were leading him off the porch?
He seemed agitated as he was when we were handcuffing him.
And would it be fair to say that in the video that you just heard and had a chance to review here in court, that one of the officers, after the defendant sat down, told him to stand up?
I would have to play it back.
Counsel, could you play the video back from I think it's the 140 mark?
Again, I just want to reiterate.
Oh, hold on.
Sorry.
You have to-
I understand, officer, that you weren't the one guiding him off the porch. I'm just asking for you, based on the video that you're reviewing.
You said go all the way back to 140.
30 seconds should be sufficient there.
This is on the board. It's at 159.
Fucking kill me, bro. Just kill me. Now listen, you straighten the fuck up, or I'm gonna slap your face. Get your ass up to the floor.
I don't even recall the video, counsel. What time would that be?
2:33.
And could be 2 seconds before, at about between 2:30 and 2:33 mark. Also, you hear, he was attempting to indicate, the defendant, part of the language, stand your ass up.
I did hear that, yes.
And it appeared that the defendant complied with that.
Again, we would have to watch the video further. Again, there was still a lot of yelling going on, and he was clearly agitated at that point still.
And how many officers were told they place the defendant under arrest?
From what I recall, it was 4 of us as we were handcuffing him.
Were you able to place the defendant under arrest by yourself?
No.
And why is that?
Again, at that point when we were trying to place him in handcuffs, he was actively attempting to pull his arms away.
Thank you. I have no further questions this time around.
Okay, any recross based on those questions, counsel?
No, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. You may step down, don't discuss your testimony with anybody. Any further witnesses by the people?
No further witnesses, people, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any witnesses for the defense?
No.
Okay, and Mr. Kazak.
Your Honor, this time I move to bind over on the felony charge of resisting obstructing a police officer based on the officer testimony. I think there certainly was a factual question regarding whether or not the defendant obstructed. Why not? Particularly Officer Broken, Officer Sassy. So I would ask for bind over to defendant on count 1 and the accompanying distance charges.
Okay, just one moment. Counsel, you can stop this. You can stop the screen sharing. Or unless, are you using it for your?
No.
Okay. For your argument? Okay. Okay, and counsel?
Your Honor, the officer has testified, he says that he wrote out this complaint because he pulled away by multiple times while he was being handcuffed. Video is quite clear. All right, the arm that was in view, which was his right arm, was behind his back. The left arm, they put the handcuff on first, and it was back there. There is no movement, there's no jerking. He actually goes forward. Period. So if he wrote this based on quote, while handcuffing him, he pulled his arm away multiple times, then it's not present in the video of the person, this Officer Todd, who was standing within, I would say, a foot of Mr. Garnes and the other officers. And then he said that's the only reason that he wrote the complaint. He didn't write it for anything else. So anything else that happened is of no course because it doesn't involve him.
I'm sorry, who said that's the only reason you wrote the complaint? I didn't hear
He
that.
did. He said the only reason I wrote this up was because during the handcuffing, he was pulling away and he did that multiple times. He said he didn't help him bring him down the steps. He didn't walk from the ground where he was at the bottom on the ground. He didn't go there. And he said he did not go down the street to whatever car they took him to. So I would say at this point, Your Honor, the video is very clear. There was no resisting and opposing during the process of trying to handcuff him, which resulted or which caused Mr. Garnes to pull away multiple times while he was being placed in handcuffs.
All right, Mr. Kazak.
I think at the very best, the video is, I think it does show Mr. Garnes resisting. I think it's unclear from the position regarding how he pulled away with his arms. Certainly the video can't capture the physical feelings that the officer had when he's trying to place this. Can't capture the physical response that Mr. Garnes had when the officer was trying to place him in handcuffs. And I think at best from that position, it's unclear to the extent that the defendant pulled away from the officer. But I think what's clear throughout the course of that video is that it took 4 officers to place the defendant under arrest, and that the defendant was continually non-cooperative with their attempts to do so, sitting down in the middle of the yard, despite having the officer testify. excuse me, rephrase, beside, in spite of having Detective Grow, who's clearly on video telling him to stand up, I think the video shows that the defendant did resist and obstruct and did hinder the police in the performance of their duties. And so I would ask the court final to defend. I certainly think it's not as ambiguous, or it's not, the video is not ambiguously described the interaction. It very clearly shows the defendant resisted.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Mr. Kazak just watched, all right? But it's clear from that witness that they told Mr. Garnes to sit down and that he then was sat down on the ground. I'm not sure, where this stuff about him, he stood up when he was supposed to sit down. They told him, they took him off the porch, took him down, said, sit down. They put him on the ground. And then they said, stand up. After I guess the supervisor told him to his face, give me the pepper spray. And if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to pepper spray. I don't, that's not resisting. That's not opposing. He did what they told him. Sit on the ground, bam, to the ground.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor, I would note that in the video, when they told him to sit down, he eventually sat down well after, when he's already being walked down to the car, and it's certainly reasonable for him to sit down, well after being asked to do so. They asked him to sit down on the porch, he didn't. He then attempted to escort him to the car, and that's when he plopped down in the middle of the yard and decided not to cooperate further with the police. And I think that's what the video reflects. I have no further argument.
Okay.